Hey, how you going? It's Chris Pittore. I just like to make a video about words. Now, it's a sort of pretty different style from what I'm used to making videos. Just bear with me, okay? To start with, someone once said this quote: "The more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know." I don't know about you, but I find that quote quite kind of fascinating. Now, it's popularly attributed to Albert Einstein. Now, Albert Einstein, you may know, he failed maths, but he ended up being one of the greatest mathematicians in our era. It's pretty cool, right? So basically, the quote is again, I'll say it again: the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. Right now, I think that quote applies to everyone, and myself included. Okay, so I'm just going to offer a very open mind and a wide vision about this video. I may not be right, you may not agree, or I may be wrong, but I just want to sort of try and help people to sort of see things a little bit differently. And so I'm offering this sort of open mind, and really, I don't really mind who's right and who's wrong, because in the end, I just want to try and help people to realize people think differently, right? And your words matter, right? So we had this thing called languages, and we had this, how we communicate, right? And so I find languages really fascinating. Now, I like how languages are framed and structured, and I just get this feeling that it doesn't seem like many people really have this appreciation for languages. I could be wrong, but I just get the sense that people don't seem to appreciate how amazing languages are. At least the people I know, anyway. Now, have you realized that we all see things differently? I mentioned this before. We all see things differently, right? So there are 7 billion people, and they all see things differently. I kind of find that, well, kind of blows my mind, right? Because you kind of like think, well, I thought a certain way, and then this person thinks a certain way. I just find that like, wow, like kind of when I realize that, right? You may already realize this, right? But words, words are powerful, right? So I've got an example, like words can help heal a heart, or they can help break it, right? So we have to use our words thoughtfully and with care, right? And I'll give you an example. Like, some people are really sensitive. I used to be really sensitive myself, right? I would just like, people would say this to me, say certain things to me. I'd just be like, oh man, like that's just like, I would have a difficulty with that, and I would really take offense, right? And so that's what I used to be like, right? And basically, some people are quite sensitive, and again, I used to be like that, and I know to extent how a little bit what that's like for some people. They can say like a certain thing, and they might get offended by it quite easily, or might quite difficult. People, they might be really sort of not insensitive. That's the wrong word, but they might be kind of like, they don't seem to care if people say certain things. So I'll give you an example, right? So someone basically gave me a couple of insults, actually two different people, right? And in the past, I'd be like, I'd be really offended by that. There was kind of like a personal remark, and I was like, but at the time I was like, okay, I kind of laughed at it. I don't really care. But in the past, I really would have taken offense to that, right? So my point in this whole video is your words matter, right? Hopefully I can help you see that, right? We're social beings. We interact with people, right? And we have to sort of try to be sensitive to people if we can be, okay? Because some people are going to take things very, very differently from what we actually perhaps think, right? So, in my own example, right, in my own sort of the way I see things, right? I made a lot of mistakes in the past. I used to waste lots of words. I used to just say things I didn't really seem to understand, or perhaps even care that these words might be taken a certain way. I mean, we can't get all paranoid. We can't go like, "I'll never say anything, or else it might hurt someone." No, we can't do that. But we've got to at least be sensitive to the fact that people are going to take things differently, and it depends on the individual, right? And it also depends on the group, right? So basically, I made a lot of mistakes in the past, but now I'm trying to be more careful with words, realizing that my words actually matter, right? So I've got to be accountable for myself. I can't go and blame someone else. It's got to be my life. I'm a certain age. I'm an adult. I've got to be accountable for myself. That's the way I see things, right? And I've mentioned that people can be sensitive, right? And so, as I said, words affect people differently, right? Now, there's a falsehood. I just want to smash this falsehood, right? There's a falsehood that people, seem to sort of mention about. And they say that people don't change. I've heard this from lots of people, but I tell you what, people do change. I mean, I've changed. I see people change. We're not like, we're not just sort of be the same person our whole life, right? There's a certain concept of maturity, right? My point is that people do change. People do change. Even just like my example, I change a lot, and I'm hopefully become a better person. I'm hoping to become a better person, right? So my attitudes can change, my ideas can change, and maybe yours do as well. You may not perhaps realize this, but we get affected by things like different experiences. Like someone might have a traumatic experience, and it might impact them for a long time, or things like that, right? So I've changed a lot, right? And I hope I can just break through that falsehood, the sort of thing that's thrown around that people don't change. Okay, I hope I can sort of help you understand that they do change. We all change, right? And so, as I said, there's 7 billion people, and we're all trying to sort of interact, right? And it's quite interesting. So what we say, you might think it's the right thing to say, but it may not be the right thing for that particular person. Everyone's different, right? Everyone's a different sort of person, right? And we had this concept that I like in psychology, and it sort of talks about what it actually calls self-actualization, right? So I see this as improving myself. So in all my things, in all these things, I try to become a better person. And right, I think it's kind of like a positive attitude to try and improve myself, right? So I want to get really into this sort of concept of words and what they sort of mean. I want to give a few topics, right? So one of them I've already mentioned is sensitivity, how people receive these words, right? Another thing is meaning of words. Now, have you realized how it's interesting that words, or the understandings of words, change over time? The definitions change, right? And there's this thing called the Urban Dictionary, and I mean, it's kind of fascinating in a way, because words, like, they just change so much, but how people take them, and how, like, as people relate to them, and I won't go into that, but I want to give you one word, right? The word idiot. Now, I'm not calling anyone an idiot, okay? I just make that clear. I'm just mentioning it, right? But the word idiot has sort of changed its people have changed their understandings, or its culture, whatever you want to call it, of the word idiot. The whole definition has changed, how it's perceived, right? So I'm going to give you the definition, right? So as a noun, idiot, right? Now this is like, these days, I'm assuming, right? But informal, idiot means an utterly foolish or senseless person. And here's the example, right? If you think you can wear that outfit to a job interview and get hired, you're an idiot. I'm not saying that to anyone here, right? But that's just how, the definition, how it's example of this, how people see it these days, right? And then, it's kind of actually a pretty intense word, utterly foolish. Foolish, or senseless, utterly foolish or senseless. Now, do I want to see that sort of stuff being sort of thrown around? Personally, no. I mean, people can see it in a different way. But, I'm a Christian, so I see things, I treat people how I want to be treated, right? Because I'm a Christian, right? And so, I don't want to see, I don't want to be called an idiot. So I don't call others idiots. I mean, I hope that makes some sort of sense, right? So, I don't want to see this sort of happen, right? I don't want to see people being called idiots. So, the little example I can show, I just show my own example. I sort of lead by example. We're all sort of leaders in a way, right? So I don't call anyone idiots, right? So again, your words matter. That's just one example. The word idiot, right? Right. So that's just one word, but it has different perceptions of how people take it, right? And I'll give you an example, right? I don't know anyone who reads a dictionary, right? So can you imagine like all the different words there are, and how few people actually know what they mean? We can get really kind of into this and take it too far, but I'll just let you know that not many people read the dictionary, and so you might want to be careful how you use certain words. Maybe just try and understand how people take it, or at least try to. Right? We can get kind of too far in this, but that's just one word. The word idiot has changed over time, because people use it these days. They use it for certain things. They sort of call this idiot, but does it? I hope you're seeing the sense in this, right? Does it really matter to them? Does it really? Can they see what you're saying and take it your way? It's probably kind of unlikely in some senses, right? So I won't get bogged down, okay? All right. So popular use of words, right? I've already talked about that, right? So, but there's a thing called registers, right? And I learned about this in social linguistics, right? Social linguistics is actually really, really interesting in my opinion, right? So there's different registers, right? I'll give you one example, right? And it's going to sound kind of strange, okay? Because it's not really an example that you sort of hear, right? But it's going to sound. It's actually called bureaucratic register, okay? It's by bureaucratic register. And the example is this: institutions are formalizing procedures. And where would you hear this? you probably wouldn't hear it for starters. You probably read it, right? You probably read it like a textbook, like a really technical sort of thing, like a legal textbook, a law textbook, should say, right? So, would you really use this example? Institutions are formalizing procedures. Would you use this in casual conversation? Like, would you hear this in the street? Like, someone says this to you, like, hey, I've just noticed this thing happening. Do you know that institutions are formalizing procedures in my life, and I can't take it? I think personally, I think it kind of sounds kind of a bit too much. It's kind of like a bit, a bit over the top, right? I don't think I'd hear that in the street, right? I'm not saying it can't happen, but there's a sort of appropriateness to all this, right? And then you have like informal talk, right? You have informal sort of things. Like, I'll give you an example. This is like really American, right? I'm not American myself, but I see this and I see sort of videos and sort of stuff, and people sort of say on the street, and again, I'm using my voice here, right? But they say, "Yo, what's up, dog?" That's a really bad accent, right? But they say like, "Yo, what's up, dog?" Right? And I kind of think that's pretty funny. But humor is subjective, right? And so you might not find that funny, but I kind of find that sort of concept, what's up, dog? D-A WG, all right, that's interesting, right? But my point is that you wouldn't go and sort of say like, you wouldn't be like in an interview with like the Prime Minister of Australia, Tony Abbott, and like, you'd be like interviewing Tony Abbott, you'd be like, "Yo, what's up, dog?" I don't think you do that, right? It's kind of like, it's not appropriate, right? Because it's like an interview, like a formal thing, right? So my point is, there's informal and there's formal language, and so it's kind of useful to be aware of sort of the context, what's happening in our lives, like whether it's really appropriate, right? And so again, our words matter, right? So you wouldn't use that example with you wouldn't write that in a textbook usually, right? So I hope you're finding this interesting, because I'm trying to hopefully help it. I'm trying to make this interesting, right? So hopefully you're getting something from this, right? So I think I've already mentioned this before, but sensitivity of the recipient. And there's all kinds of different ways you can see this. Like I mentioned, you can mention like how they'll take it. Like, will someone see this as a personal attack? Will someone sort of see this as a really sort of insensitive comment? Like if you say like, "How are you going?" How will someone take that? It depends on the individual. Like, "Oh, you look nice today," right? How will someone take that, right? And I'll probably leave it there. But there's sort of certain things you can sort of put on, like you can talk about body language, and language is actually quite interesting. But I'm going to keep on topic, right? Because this video is about words, right? Not about body language. That's sort of another sort of topic, right? So I've got an example, like personal comments, right? I'm getting to the point, and hopefully we're sort of understanding this, that personal comments are quite sort of tricky, right? Like, you wouldn't sort of say to someone like who's sort of like overweight, you wouldn't sort of say to them, "Hey, you've put on weight." I mean, would that really help them? Would that sort of make them feel good about themselves? Like someone who's overweight, and you're just saying they've put on more weight. Like, I sort of would question that. I don't think that would really help anyone personally. And especially if they're sensitive, like and especially if they're talking to you about trouble, and even if the troubles with the weight. I mean, that's quite a personal issue. Like, we have to be sort of careful with how we say this, right? And we have sort of things like, I see this with women and ladies, like, and they sort of say, "Oh, you're so skinny," and I think, yeah, it's cool, but I'm not sure like that they might appreciate that, especially if they're sort of conscious of being skinny or things like so. So personal comments about, like, for example, physical attributes, we have to sort of be kind of careful, right? And again, people are sensitive, some people aren't sensitive. Like, someone gave me a comment like about that sort of stuff, and I sort of thought, yeah, I don't really take it that way, but in the past I would have, right? So hopefully you're sort of understanding this, right? Personal comments matter, and again, our words matter. Hopefully you're seeing this, right? Right. So with all these things, we want to sort of make an impact. And my understanding is, let's try and make an impact good. Let's try and make a good impact, right? So we see things differently, and that's fine. That's fine to have different opinions. You got different opinions than mine, and that sort of stuff. And to an extent, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone, right? We don't want to hurt anyone. That's my understanding, right? So I've got another example: English as a second language, right? Now, this is actually really, I kind of find it quite interesting, because people who have English as a second language, they're going to say things that we don't maybe understand, right? I'll give you an example, right? Now, in Italian, Italian, right? Italian language, right? There's a word called bello, and it's used a lot in Italian, right? And for an object, the word bello means, for an object or a woman, it can mean beautiful or lovely, right? For a man, bello means handsome or good looking. For the weather, the weather, it means fine, beautiful, lovely, that sort of stuff. For a quantity, bello means considerable. Interesting, right? So it's got quite a few different meanings. That's just a few of the meanings, by the way, right? And so it has different meanings depending on how it's used, right? So one of my friends, he was learning English, and he was Italian, right? And so he started calling all kinds of things and people beautiful, and that's interesting, right? I find it quite interesting, right? But it may have been taken a different way depending on who he said it to, right? Example, I'm just going to give you one like really unusual example, right? If my friend, this friend in the example, started calling a quantity of rice beautiful, like this quantity of rice is beautiful, right? This might be interpreted as a good quantity, like it's a good amount, right? But it's probably not the best adjective to use, right? So you wouldn't go and call everyone like, "Hey, you're beautiful," like to everyone like you meet. It might kind of you might say to your girlfriend, like, it's a context, right? You say to your girlfriend, like, if she appreciates it, hopefully she appreciates it. I don't know. It depends on the individual, right? But he wouldn't use the word beautiful for everything. Hope we can maybe agree on that, right? Now, this is a discussion, so you don't have to agree. It's just fine. That's fine, right? And then you got the last point I want to make about this. Again, your words matter, right? Is what I learned at the college. I went to a college once, right? And it's basically the importance of politeness on the internet. I'm just going to get a bit of a drink, right? Because it's getting a bit. All right. So, politeness on the internet. Now, this is a huge one. A lot of us actually go on the internet. We sort of have interactions on using the internet, right? And there's a lot of misunderstandings on the internet. I'm not sure. Hopefully, you've realised that there's lots of misunderstandings. People often seem to interpret things a certain way, and I find it's kind of like really, really important to be polite, and actually super polite on the internet, right? Because there's no tone of voice. There's no like you can't tell easily. It's kind of vague in a way, right? So some people say there's like the best personal relationships are when you go and meet the person. To some extent, that's sort of true, right? Because like if it's possible, you meet someone, you can read how they're sort of doing things, you get to know them better in a way, and in the end, like if you're on the internet and only sort of relating to people on the internet, then it kind of can be kind of hard to sort of understand how they're coming from, or where they're coming from, I should say, what they mean, and so it's just very vague, as I said, right? And that's just the last point of this video. And I hope this video has sort of helped you realize that people see things differently, and how our words can really impact on people differently. And again, the last point I want to make is just very simple. And it's in the whole sort of point of this video is our words matter, right? Your words matter. My words matter. Like President Obama's words matter. Like construction workers' words matter in different ways, and but it can be taken differently, right? And anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been interesting and possibly entertaining. I don't know, right? I hope it has been interesting, right? And I hope you've got something good out of this. I hope you've got some positive points to sort of think about. You can pause it, you can go back and sort of listen to a part again, and it just I love to hear feedback. I love to hear feedback on my videos, I just check out my other videos. There's different ones. They're mostly Christian, but I've got a few different ones on there. So just relax and just watch them. I hope you get something positive from it. All right, thanks. I'm Chris Pittore. I just hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.